I begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of Meanjin, Brisbane, the Turrbal and Yagara peoples. I pay my respects to all elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge and welcome all First Nations peoples here with us today. As part of the oldest continuous living culture in the world, the traditional custodians of the city should be held in a place of pride, supported in truth-telling, and have a powerful voice in decision-making. Sovereignty was never ceded. This was, and always will be, Aboriginal land. We must work towards treaty. I speak to you warmly now as the newly appointed councillor for the Gabba Ward, a position of great privilege, a position that for someone like me has been unimaginable for all their life. I am proudly a queer woman of Filipino and African American descent who immigrated here at a young age. Reflecting on my childhood and youth in the 90s, I remember growing up in a time when Brisbane was changing and growing, but I also remember never seeing someone like me on TV, in ads, in magazines, or even in public life. The older I got, as I continued living in the city, diverse communities became more visible, more present, but this chamber remained largely the same. And the truth is, it's not only here, it's at every level of government. And that's why this position of privilege has been so unimaginable, because visibility counts. And as many people have said before me, you can't be what you can't see. So in the city where 31.7% of its population was born overseas, I humbly take pride in being the first queer woman of colour in this chamber today. I accept the responsibility of representing the many intersections that make me me, the diverse people across the city that have supported me throughout my life and career through friendships, community support, and transformative work that we've done together at all levels, particularly in grassroots. I humbly take pride in being the first queer woman of colour in this chamber today to ensure that minorities and those that are marginalised have an amplified voice. I humbly take pride in being the first queer woman of colour today in this chamber because I know I won't be the last. I won't be the last because Brisbane is changing again. And today in these times are challenging. Everyday people like me are dealing with a housing crisis, mortgage rate crisis, and pressure, rental crisis. We see this chambers in action across our streets and our parks with the growing numbers of homelessness and rough sleepers. Residents are fighting a conflicting development system that sees neighbourhood plans thrown out the window. Instead, we see forced precinct plans, a lack of foresight for sustainable mixed development, density development across the city, no genuine community consultation, or any accountability for the social infrastructure needed for high-density populations to thrive. When will this council make developers earning hundreds and millions of dollars every year pay their fair share? In this city, we see the continued prioritisation beyond all else of cars, depleting the opportunities for new active transportation corridors for walkers, cyclists and scooter commuters to safely reach their destination. We now have a council known for turning inner city green spaces grey, prioritising commercialisation of publicly owned space time after time. I could go on, and in time I will, I'm sure. But you see, to get back to my point about not being the last, the point is the residents of the city have had enough of this tired and unimaginative LNP council. As we approach the 25th year of a Liberal-run council here in Meanjin, Brisbane, we can all honestly recognise in this chamber, I think, that this city's people expect more from us. Residents across the city want a voice, they want to be heard, and they know 20 years, nearly 20 years on, they live in a Brisbane whose governing body listens and acts less and less in their interests. I take on this role with commitment to the residents of the Gabba to work hard for and with them. I take on this role with a commitment to empowering voices, but also listening. I take on this role by sending a notice. What was once unimaginable to me, to many people like me, has now happened. So my message to the people of the Gabba and Brisbane is, what is possible in the future is limitless. What I mean by this is this city and its residents can be listened to, can thrive with better active and public transport. They can have access to green space and community hubs where they can build genuine local connections. They can have the contributions of local artists valued and nurtured. They can have a say on how their neighbourhoods look like, and so much more. In this future, deep systemic social issues are tackled by us here, honestly, through generosity and by hard work. The people of the city will have their say because change is coming. And so to conclude, I want to thank my partner Mel, whose support is invaluable to me, my closest and dearest friends and family. To the Queensland Greens, I thank you for your support and confidence. And finally, but most importantly, I want to thank the residents and communities across the Gabba who have warmly welcomed me. Your support means the world to me.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Is there any further general business? Councillor Cassidy.
Yes, thank